Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. I am really excited to be here, and we are going to do something fun and exciting and delicious. And I want to introduce you to a new company. And this isn't a company that I'd ever heard of until a few days ago, and I am really, really excited about it. And the company, if you looked at the hashtags, maybe you already know, the company that I'm talking about is Rockridge Dairies. And Rockridge Dairy is a Canadian dairy, and it's local. They're only about 15 minutes from where I live. So you are going to be able to find their products in grocery stores. I know there are a couple of co-ops that are carrying them and organic grocery stores. So go to rockridgedairy.com or .ca. Let's take a peek because I brought a label to show you because we are going to make a goat cheese no-bake cheesecake today. Now this is, let me show you, this is Rockridge Dairy. Now this cheese is so fresh. This is a cream cheese, but instead of being made from cow's milk, it's made from goat's milk. And it is absolutely delicious. So if you don't have it on hand and you want to make this recipe, that's not a problem. You can substitute regular cream cheese. This cheese was so fresh. When I was at the dairy yesterday, they didn't even have the label on it. And so I asked them if they would just give it to me rather than putting it on the package, and they did. So let's figure out what we're going to put in this cheesecake. The first thing we need is a bowl. Well, I guess that's not necessarily the first thing we need, but it is a thing that we need. So let's do this. Okay. We're going to take a peek at the counter here so you can see what I'm doing. Now, if you haven't been here before, if you have been here before, lots of times, one time, never before, doesn't matter. Let me know where you're from. Let me know why you're here. Are you just curious? Are you doing keto? Do you have somebody who forgets to put their phone on mute? Okay, let's do that there. Now we're not going to be bothered anymore. Okay, so we are going to, just a second here. Dum-de-dum-dum-dum. You know, we're going to get somebody to bring up our lives so maybe I can see who's here and who's not. Okay, so first thing you need for this particular no-bake cheesecake is a graham cracker crust. Now, you do not have to be a rocket scientist to know that graham crackers are not keto. So, that being true, we're going to make our own. Good morning, Dell and Evelyn. I'm glad you guys could be here. Okay, let's do this. And I keep saying that, and I keep saying I'm going to... Okay, what is going on with my... Oh, you know what? This is what happens when Sharon doesn't pay attention to what's going on with her cameras. Okay. Well, for some reason... Oh, you know what? I just figured it out. There is a little privacy screen on this camera. There we go. Check it out. Okay, that's where we are. That's what we're doing now. The first thing we're going to do is take 100 grams of almond flour, and we are going to put it in the frying pan, a dry frying pan. You do not want any butter in here. And we are going to turn that on about 4. And we're going to pay close attention to that because we want to toast this. So we want this. You can see how white this is right now. Let me give you a better shot here. Okay, so you can see how white this is right now. And we want this to be a nice golden brown, maybe even a little bit darker than golden brown. So here, we'll just get over here so that I'm in the same space as the fern. Okay, so this is what we're doing. And you have to, now this is going to take a minute or so before it starts to brown. So what we're going to do in the meantime is we are going to take the butter that we're going to need for this, and we are going to stick it in the microwave. So we have 100 grams of almond flour, 40 grams of butter, and this butter, honestly, you guys, this is going to blow your mind. If you can get your hands on some of this Rockridge Dairy butter, this is made of 100% Jersey cream. So typically, butter that you buy in the grocery store is about 80% milk fat, and then there's water. And they leave the water in there because it's way cheaper than the fat is. So if you buy butter in your local grocery that is only 80% milk fat, you're paying for the water. Now this, the butter from Rockridge Dairy is 84%, and you just don't find it more than that. And not only, so this is a little bit of butter from there. I set this aside. It broke off the roll when I was cutting it. Honestly, this is amazing. And it's organic. And it's made of Jersey cream. You just don't get better than that. Okay, so we are going to hand this off so that it can go in the microwave. We need that melted. Okay, I am going to see if I can't get this up on here so I can see. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. Okay, maybe. Well, I'm going to say it's probably not going to happen, but I really would like to be here to see what you guys are saying. Okay, you know what? We're not going to worry about that. We will worry about that for another day. We're going to check on our almond flour. So we want the butter in the microwave until it's totally melted and quite hot. Now that it's in there, once it's hot, we are going to mix in 85 grams of brown erythritol, and we're going to mix it in the butter because I want the brown sugar substitute, the erythritol, golden erythritol, to kind of dissolve in the butter, because this is going to be what sticks our graham cracker crust together. So I just added the golden erythritol, and you guys know it's from Amson Naturals, right? Okay, now to that, usually the spice that you find in graham cracker is cinnamon, but we're going to dress it up a little bit, and we are going to add half a teaspoon of apple pie spice. And so I'm just going to sprinkle that right now into the almond flour, because I can see that this almond flour is starting to toast. Oh, look at this. It is getting lovely. I didn't want the apple pie spice in here right away because I wanted to be able to tell exactly when it was starting to toast, and I didn't want it to burn. But now that it's partly toasted, if we add the apple pie spice in, that's going to toast a little bit as well. So I'm going to send this bowl with the erythritol, the golden erythritol from Amson Naturals, and the Rockridge Dairy butter. See, shameless plugs for the products that I'm using. But we're going to throw those back in the microwave for about 30 seconds. And we're going to do that because it's going to help that brown sugar, golden erythritol to melt a little bit. We don't need it melted a whole lot, but we do a little bit. Okay, this is getting nice and toasty. And you can smell it. I wish you could smell this, you guys, because you can smell the apple pie spice, and you can smell the almonds toasting, and they just smell amazing. So this is going to make an absolutely delicious graham cracker crust. Now, if you wanted to wait and add the apple pie spice after this is totally toasted. Now this is the point where you really, really have to watch it because it toasts very quickly and it will go from toasty to burny very fast. Okay, you can see how quickly I just stirred this and it's getting very brown very quickly, and that's what we want, is that nice and toasty, and I can smell that we are done with the nice and toasty. So we're going to get this in this bowl right away. Now it will continue to toast in a hot frying pan, which means if you're not careful with it, it will burn. So let's get it in here. Okay. Oh, you can see how nice and toasty it is, and you can see if you look in the frying pan, you can see where even though it is off the burner, the frying pan is hot enough that it will continue to toast it, and if I left it in here too long it would burn it. Okay, now I don't want to waste any of this beautiful toasted almond flour, so we'll just brush it all out of here. Okay, now that can go away, and we have our erythritol, the golden erythritol and the Jersey butter. Oh, you guys, I am in love with these products. They have the goat cheese that we're going to be using today is called Chev goat cheese. It's a French cheese that is incredible. Now it does have some carbs in it, but we're not going to be using tons and tons. So in one piece, this is a treat. I mean, remember that this is a treat. Okay, so we have our apple pie spice and our toasted almond flour in here. I'm going to add, oh, pardon me. I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. That's just going to help it kind of glue together. And now when you put the xanthan gum in on top, I am not going to pour the butter and brown sugar in right on top because it's going to make this xanthan gum clumpy, and you don't want that. And this, you know, if it was a sauce and it got a little bit clumpy, I'd just take my immersion blender and I would straighten that out. But in this, you don't want to, because you don't want to mess with the texture of this almond flour. Okay, now we've got the xanthan gum in there, we've got the apple pie spice in there, and we're going to take the butter and the golden erythritol, and we're going to add that in there. Okay. So it was in the microwave for, I don't know, maybe a minute. Now one of these days maybe we'll have to make some graham crackers. I don't like making crackers so much because crackers are delicious. I love them. However, crackers are way, way too easy to overindulge in. Says the girl that's making a cheesecake right in front of you. Okay, now we'll get rid of those. And we're just going to stir this up. Now this is the equivalent of crushed graham crackers with a little bit of brown sugar and butter and whatever spice you decide to put in, but we're using apple pie spice, and it just smells so rich and warm and wonderful. Now how would we make this apple flavored? I don't know. I would have to think about that. But this one is going to be lemon flavored, and lemon and apples go very well together. Now you can see that this is kind of crumbly, and you can put it together like this in your hand. Okay, so we're going to make sure that all of the butter and the brown sugar are off the spoon, so things are put in here in a consistent way. Now we are going to take our cake pan and we're just going to dump this in here. I'm not greasing this cake pan because there's butter in here. You could, I suppose, if you wanted to, but I would rather take that little bit of extra butter and maybe have a bite. I know some people think it's strange to just enjoy a bite of butter, but I'm telling you, if it is good butter, it is absolutely worth the bite. Now, Okay, we are done with those. I'll scrape this off a little bit. Now we're just going to push this down in the pan, but we're also going to push it up the sides because we don't want the yummy filling that we're going to make next to be stuck to the side. If I'm going to lose something as wonderful as this smells, and as much as I'm looking forward to it, I would rather lose a little bit of the crust than a little bit of the cream cheese or the cheesecake filling. That's what I'm trying to say. Use your words, Sharon. Okay, now, this is a silicone cake pan. You really have to brace the outside of this cake pan, or maybe set it inside another cake pan that is sturdy. And I use this one because it is just so much easier to get things out of. You don't need to, when you're baking in it, you don't need to grease it as much. And this does not have to be perfect, guys. And you know, if you taste this, and you certainly can, there's nothing in here that you can't taste before it's ready, because this is a no-bake cheesecake. So, if you taste this and you decide that it needs a little more sugar or a little more apple pie spice, you can definitely do that. It is entirely up to you. This is your cheesecake. Okay. Now, if any of you have any questions or comments, or I love hearing from you. And I gotta tell you, when we hang out together, the more you comment, the more other people have a chance to see my videos. So, that's a little bit of information that maybe you didn't know. Okay, so now we have the crust done. Now we need to set this aside very carefully because we don't want it to be all crumbled. And we're going to grab another bowl and we are going to make our filling. Now, you guys know, okay, that's a little bit of sugar that we're going to put in there. You guys know that I weigh everything. And I could say a quarter cup or a half cup or a whatever. I don't like doing that because grams are way more precise. Now, that being said, I did put in a quarter teaspoon of xanthan gum and half a teaspoon of apple pie spice, but those are really small amounts that you can measure easily with a measuring spoon, and it is what it is. But when it's a larger amount, I like to be a little more precise. Okay, now the first thing that we are going to put in here is our Chev cheese. Now you can see I have a full kilogram, and I opened it just a wee bit because I really did have to do a taste test, and it is so awesome. So, you know, if you have a chance to buy Rockridge Dairy products, I'm always happy when I find something that's affordable and it's organic. And that's why I started TSL Organics, because I wanted something that was going to be affordable and organic. Okay, so we need 170 grams of Chev. So let's see how close this comes. I am not going to waste even 1 gram of this if I have a choice. Okay. Now we zeroed our scale. You've got to make sure you do that. And I have 212 grams here. So we'll just send that to the trash. Yep, that needed to be done. Okay, so we need 170 grams. We have 212. If we were only 5 or 10 grams over, I wouldn't worry about it so much. But 40 grams is quite a lot. So take a little bit of it out of here and see if we can't get 187. You know what? I'm okay with that. This is not one of those things that needs to be exactly precise. Now, I'm going to get a freezer bag to put this in when we're done and get it back in the fridge. Honestly, you guys, this is wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Now, if you are in Edmonton or Calgary, I know, okay, well, that spoon needs to go to the sink. let's just put this in a Ziploc bag right now and get it back in the fridge. The warmer it gets, the more you start seeing liquid come out of it. And that's okay. That's what it's supposed to be. Now, you know, one of the big differences, I've got to show you one other product. Now, this is not going in our, this isn't going in our cheesecake today, but they also make feta cheese. And honest to heavens, this is the best feta that I've ever had. And it's low in carbs. Okay, let's look at the bottom. Cholesterol, sodium, carbohydrates, 1 gram of carbs in 30 grams. And I think that's being generous. It's not something that you want a lot of. And the same as this. I mean, I've got 188 grams here, but this is going in a whole cheesecake. So it's not something that you're going to have a lot of in one serving. And it's the carb count is the same in here. So it's not that these are carb free. They're not. But the softer a cheese is, the higher the carb count. So when they put bacterial enzymes to ripen cheese, those enzymes feed on the lactose. Lactose is milk sugar. So the softer the cheese is, the more lactose there still is. So if you're lactose intolerant to a degree that makes you ill, you don't want to be eating soft cheeses. You want to go to the harder cheeses. So feta is going to be a little bit better than chev, and hard cheese is going to be better than soft cheese, especially when you're talking about cow's milk. Now, you guys know that for sour cream, it's Gailey or Bleswold dairy, and that's just the way it is. These guys do not add cornstarch. They just don't. So I'm not going to say that that's organic, but it definitely doesn't have cornstarch in it. So that keeps the carb count down in the sour cream. Okay, so the sour cream, we're putting 15 grams of sour cream in. So just a wee little bit. And we are putting in 30 grams of powdered erythritol. Now I'm going to put this erythritol through a screen to make sure that we don't have any lumps. You know, that's the thing about powdered erythritol, is it does tend to get lumpy on you. So we're just going to do it this way. It only takes a minute. So really, the time that it takes you to do this in your kitchen to not have a lump of sugar, although if you're going to have a lump of something sweet is what you want a lump of. So this just pushes through. You can probably see this falling. Let me move over here a little bit. You see it falling in here, and as it goes through the screen, the lumps are gone, and it's just a perfectly fine powder, like icing sugar. Back in our non-keto days when we were doing that, yeah, it's like that. So this powdered erythritol is going to give this a beautiful sweet taste, and that's what we want our cheesecake to taste like. Okay, now, where's my cloth? Now the next thing we are going to do, a fresh lemon. You want a teaspoon of Zemenlast. How about that? Oh, and I just got a squirt of that delicious lemon oil in my eye. Now, when you are zesting a lemon, make sure that you are only taking the yellow. You do not want to get that white pith underneath, because it is bitter and it is not going to make anything taste good. It will make you not want to zest lemons anymore, and that would be sad because this zest is so delicious. So, now you guys know that I zest lemons and dry the zest and put it away for later, but in a cheesecake like this, I want fresh lemon zest if I can. If I don't have a lemon, I'm not going to give up on the idea. I'll use the stuff that I've dehydrated, but this has more of the lemon oil, more of that lemony flavor, and I want this to be a lemon cheesecake with our apple pie spice graham cracker. Now you see there's a little bit of brown on my lemon here. I'm just going to avoid that with my microplane. Now if you don't have a microplane, use the small side on your grater. That will work every bit as well. Now I want to show you what I'm talking about, if I can see my grater here somewhere. Okay, so on your grater, you have the big side. Don't use that for zesting lemons, it's not going to work. You have this funky little side, you don't want to use that either, and you certainly don't want to use the slicing side. Just use the side with the little grater holes on it. That's going to work not quite as well as a microplane, but pretty close. So if, oh look at that, I got sugar on my microplane. There are worse things that could happen. Okay, now we need a teaspoon-ish of lemon zest. You know, when you're talking about baking powder or baking soda, you don't ish anything, or you end up having a cake that doesn't rise, or it tastes bitter, or okay, so let's zero the scale, and we've got lemon zest off one lemon, and we'll see how much that gives us. Well, not enough to even measure on the scale, but it is about a teaspoon, and so that is wonderful. Now, if you have a microplane, if you just got it, make sure as soon as you use it, it goes to the sink and gets rinsed off, because this will dry on here, and then it's a bit of a pain in the tuchus to get off. Okay, next thing we are going to do is juice this lemon. Now, how lemony do you want this? If it is, ouch. Okay, that was a bad idea. Turn the blade away from your finger. That's a better idea. Did I cut me? I didn't. Lucky me. Okay, now I'm going to use the same screen that we put the sugar through, and I'm going to put the lemon juice through. So do you want 1 teaspoon of lemon juice? Do you want 2 or 3 or 5? How much lemon juice do you want? How lemony do you want it? You can use the juice of a whole lemon, or you can just use a couple of teaspoons. And I'm doing it through this screen because, first of all, I want you to know you don't need to go out and buy a bunch of fancy equipment in order to cook. You just don't. You can use what you have at home. If you need a double boiler, set a tin bowl over top of your pot. If you need a juicer, you were born with one. And it also doubles as an egg separator. So, okay. How much lemon do we have here? Well, I would say probably about 3 teaspoons. And I am okay with that, because we want this to be nice and lemony. Okay, so what do we have in here? We have our Chev, we have our powdered erythritol, our sour cream, lemon juice, our lemon rind, lemon zest. We're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla, and that was about 3 teaspoons of lemon juice, I suppose. We're going to put in about a teaspoon of vanilla, and then we are going to add 75 grams of whipping cream. Now, if you don't want to use whipping cream, if you want to keep this, it's not dairy free if you're using goat cheese, but if you don't want, you know what, I did nick myself. And you know how I knew that? Because I can feel the lemon juice getting in that nick. So be careful with your knives. Keeping them really sharp is really important, but if you're going to have quality tools that are really sharp, be careful with them. Okay, so we're going to add 75 grams of whipping cream in here. And we're going to get a little spatula. You don't want to, when it's small amounts, you know, if you're using 10 cups and you lose a teaspoon, really not a big deal. But when you're using 75 grams and you lose 10 of them because you don't scrape out your container, that can be a big deal. Okay, so we have that. And we have dishes. Have you noticed every time we get together we make a lot of dishes? Okay, so next thing we need, because you know, I do like to make noise when we get together. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to get our blender, or our beaters over here. And we're going to beat this up a little bit so that it's nice and creamy smooth. And then we're going to do a taste test to see if we need to make any adjustments. Okay. Now, let's turn this up a little bit now that the cream is incorporated a little bit. You want to wait until it's mixed in a bit, otherwise you end up with your cream splashing all over the place. Now we'll see if this is going to be creamy enough. This is going to go in the fridge for a few hours. And to start, you add your 75 grams of cream. Now the longer you beat this, the creamier and fluffier it's going to get, and that's what you want in that pan, is something that's nice and creamy and fluffy. Now, if you want the crust just on the bottom of your pan, or if you want to save some of that graham cracker crust for later for another, you can make the crust as thin or as thick as you want. Now, make sure that this is pushed down so it's all getting beaten up the same way. If you have a stand mixer, by all means use that. But beat it for a while because you want to make sure that there's no lumps. This needs to be silky and smooth and amazing. Let's make noise. And you see how much more volume there is in this bowl already. Scrape this down one more time. Make sure that we don't have any of the bits that kind of climb up the bowl as it's mixing are going to leave lumps. So you want to make sure that you scrape that down and then do it again. That is awesome. Now, before we get rid of this, before there's any beaters being licked, let's do a taste test and make sure that we have this where we want it. Oh my goodness. Yep, you just have no idea. Now, the one thing that I am going to do, besides get rid of that spoon that I am going to add more lemon. Now, if you are putting a filling or a topping of some kind on here, and you could make a lemon curd to put on top, but I'm not going to. And the other thing is, I'm going to talk about my husband out of school a little bit. He is not a fan of cheesecake overall, but definitely not cheesecake made with any kind of goat product. He's not a fan. And you know, kudos to him because he tried it, and just not his thing. So that's all right. The important thing is that you try it. You're never going to... Okay, second taste test, because, you know, you can just never do too many taste tests, right? Okay, now you see how thick this is. When this goes in the fridge, this is going to thicken up. So you want it in the fridge for at least an hour, and preferably, you know, 5 or 6 hours or overnight. Bingo. Oh yeah, we got that. We nailed it, guys. You know, there we go. I can figure some of this stuff out because usually I would put a lemon curd, something on top of this, and typically I would be using cream cheese, but this just is a whole new flavor profile. The goat cheese is a little bit stronger. But this is not like goat cheese that you buy in the store. Now, I learned something. This is me doing this. Okay, they can go away. If you guys weren't hanging out with me, I would definitely be licking those off a little bit more. But we have stuff to do. So let's bring our pie crust back, or our cream cheese, our cheesecake crust. Cheese. I'm not Englishing very good today. Okay. Get a little bit of our mess cleaned up here. Okay, now you can see that when I move this, a little bit of the filling, or the the crust kind of fell away. Not a big deal. We're just going to push it back up there. And we are going to grab a spatula, because we definitely do not want to waste. And so what does she do? She hits it and bops things down again. Oh well. Now, as this chills in the fridge, the crust is going to become firmer as well, because that beautiful Jersey butter that we made it with is going to firm up. Now we're just going to pour this right in the middle. Now we have incredible healthy fat. We have incredible healthy protein. We have sugar in here, a sweetener that isn't going to raise our blood sugar. We have all kinds of yumminess in here between our lemon zest and our lemon juice. And this is going to go in the fridge. Now, this is a small one. You can double this recipe. And if you doubled the recipe, if you want the crust to go up the sides a little bit more, maybe add a little bit more butter. But make sure you toast your almond flour. I cannot tell you that strongly enough. If you're using nuts, they need to be toasted. Okay, this is as full as it's going to get. And that lemon zest is going to make it rich and lemony as well. Okay. Yep, that fit in there just like that. Now this is going to go in the fridge, and it's going to be for dessert tonight. So I have tasted the filling, and I know exactly how good that is. Now this, just so you know what I'm doing here, is a little piece of the crust. Now when I move this, where the crust is a little bit higher in the pan, it might crumble onto the top of the cheesecake. Not a big deal. So we're going to put this in the fridge. We've gone over again today, but honestly, you guys, this is worth it. Please do this at home. Check out Rockridge Dairies. Check out your local grocers, co-ops, or organic grocery store. Their products are absolutely worth what you're going to pay for them. And the most amazing thing to me is they're really reasonably priced. So do what you can do to find this, or look for an organic dairy in your neighborhood. Maybe where you live, there is an organic dairy there that you're not even aware of. I've lived in this same place for 21 years. We've been in this area for 23 years, and I didn't know about this dairy. So do your research. Support local. If you are in Alberta, coming through Alberta, you will find TSL Organics this afternoon from 3 to 7. I will be at the Wetaskiwin Farmers Market on Thursday, tomorrow, I will be at the Innisfail Farmers Market from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And on Friday, you can find me at the Lacombe Farmers Market from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Yeah. And then I'm going to have a little bit of a rest. So I hope all of you have an amazing Wednesday. Do your very best to live your best version of this shining life. That's what we are going to go and do. And we are going to do that by going and hanging out at the Wetaskiwin Farmers Market this afternoon, and hopefully introducing a few more people to the benefits of organic. Now, that being said, right before I go, I want to say this again. If you can do organic, please do. If you can't do organic, that doesn't mean you can't do keto, and it doesn't mean it isn't going to be successful. You can do keto with products that you find in your local grocery store that are not organic. You do the very best that you can do. That's all anyone can ask. So if you're needing a coach, you know how to get hold of me. Just shoot me a message on This Shining Life on Facebook, or Sharon at thisshininglife.com. Okay, happy Wednesday. Have a great day. Do your best to live your best version of this shining life, and I will see you Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. at the barbecue.